Omega has always been happy to introduce special editions and variations on the Speedmaster, but when it comes to the Moonwatch itself, it's largely remained unchanged over the years. That being said though, in recent history, Omega has done a great job at listening to the community and giving them what they wanted. When people were clamoring for the 321, they released the Ed White in 2020. When people were talking about that they wanted a micro extension and an update to the bracelet, they included that in their overhaul of the Speedmaster in 2021. But there was one last thing on the list from enthusiasts, and that was the introduction of a standard production white dial on the Speedmaster Moonwatch. We had seen it before on special editions like the Tokyo or perhaps the Snoopy editions, but we haven't really seen it in proper regular production. But all that changed in 2024 when Omega introduced this, the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch with the white dial. On the face of it, it may seem like a pretty cosmetic change. However, it completely changes the personality of the watch. That step now is a lot more apparent because you have the white. You can actually add a bit more depth to it. The same thing when looking at the sub-dials. On top of that, Omega took advantage of doing the switch, and to differentiate a little bit from the second generation Snoopy, they also added red text that adds an element of color and dynamicism and perhaps a little bit more raciness to the Speedmaster. It's important to remember that while yes, the Speedmaster is best known as being the watch that went to the moon, it was originally introduced to be a racing watch. The irony, of course, is that while the Rolex Daytona was introduced to be a new moon watch, that, however, was more associated with racing, meanwhile this was associated with its moon travel.
One small step for man.
Funny how things like that work. Beyond that though, this is of course still the same great watch that was introduced in 2021. You have the caliber 3861 on the inside, which is META certified, and while yes, the Moonwatch is still only 50 meters water resistance, the fact that the META certification includes tests on the cased watch, making sure that it's tested to above its rated depth of 50 meters, you can at least be confident knowing that this is a hard 50 meters, not the type of 50 meters where you need to be careful when you're washing your hands. In addition to that, it is much more accurate than the previous generation of Moonwatch, but still with that classic Lemania based architecture. So when you turn it around and look at the case back, you can see this amazing old school chronograph, cam actuated, plenty going on, and also quite nicely decorated for a watch that is still, at the end of the day, mass produced. The bracelet is still a work of art with a nice slim taper, and they managed to incorporate a quick adjust into the clasp without making it excessively long, something that Rolex could maybe take note of with the Daytona. But the interesting thing here is that Omega has finally broken away from keeping the black dial Moonwatch on its own. This is a regular production model, not one that's limited or that will come and go. This is something that's being sold alongside the black dial. And what will be really interesting to see is which one will become the most popular. We've already seen with the Daytona that the white dials of late at least have been much more popular, and a similar case with the Explorer 2. But it's really down to you, the watch buying public, to decide which one is the better one. Would you opt for the classic Speedmaster with the black dial, nice and functional, matte finish, or would you go for this nice lacquered white dial with a bit of a shock of red to have a bit more fun and to bring things a bit more down to earth? We'd love to know in the comments. If you want to see more Omega content, then make sure you check out our Omega playlist. And if you want to see more videos about watches every week, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell as well so you know when the next video comes out, and check our links in the description if you're looking at buying a Speedmaster. But thank you for joining us on this quick look at what was a small step forward in terms of the change they made, but a huge leap forward for the Omega Speedmaster as a whole. We'll catch you on the next video.